Okay, so welcome to our last session. Today is March 2022. Okay, shall we pray first? Any volunteer? Brian, can you volunteer? Sir Brian.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Do not bring us to the test, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Thank you, sir. Wait. Okay, let's start. Okay, number one, someone wants to enter. Okay, is this the kind of file that was given to you? Yes. Okay. Question number one. Wait. Oh, officer, there is no reason to give me a traffic ticket for going too fast because I was just on my way to the hospital to see my wife, who is in serious condition, to tell her I just lost my job and the car will be repossessed. Okay. What logical fallacy is committed by the above statement? A. Argumentum ad baculum. B. Argumentum ad verecundiam. C. Argumentum ad populum. Or D. Argumentum ad misericordiam. What is the answer? Look at the kind of reasoning that is presented here. There is a problem as far as logic is concerned. This is a problem on logic. And logic, as we all know, is the science of correct reasoning, the science of correct thinking. So what is the answer? Okay, wait, someone wants to. Okay, letter D. Josh said letter D. Venus, letter D. Okay, when you say logical fallacy, okay, when you say logical fallacy, there is an error in reasoning. Mali-maling pangangatwiran. No? Logical fallacy is mali-maling pangangatwiran. Mali-maling reasoning. Okay, what was the justification? If you look at this, if you look at the statement uh, presented in the stem, what was the justification why he should not be given a ticket? Bakit daw siya dapat patawarin ng traffic officer? Anong sabi? Because ano daw, yung nagmamadali because nasa serious condition ang wife sa hospital. Okay? And pupunta siya ng hospital to tell his wife na nawalan siya ng trabaho at na-repossess ng bangko yung kanilang sasakyan. So is that a correct justification for him not to be given a ticket, a traffic ticket by the police officer? Of course not, okay? So the correct answer here is, wait, excuse me, a lot of people want the link. Wait. A lot of people are joining. Mute all. Wait. Okay, the correct answer is argumentum ad misericordiam. Okay? What is this kind of fallacy all about? Argumentum ad misericordiam. It means it's appeal to emotion. It's appeal to pity. Okay? nag nag uh, nagpapaawa, right? So the correct answer is letter D, argumentum ad misericordiam. Argumentum ad baculum is appeal to the stick, you know. Um, the teacher tells the student, if you don't pass your assignment, I will, yes, teacher tells the student, if you don't pass your assignment, I will fail you. That's argumentum ad baculum, threatening, force. Baculum, right? Baculum means stick. Argumentum, how about populum? Just because everybody's using it, it's already good. No, that's argumentum ad populum. So the correct answer here is argumentum ad misericordiam, appeal to pity. Why should I not fail you? Teacher A tells student B, why should I not fail you? Ano yung sabi ng estudyante? Kasi po, sir, may sakit ang nanay. Mahirap lang kami. So, you should not fail me. So is that even valid? Of course not, right? So at argumentum ad misericordiam. Now let's go to question number 2. Okay? Thought is considered in Egyptian mythology as the blank. A. Provider of food. B. Protector of the Nile River. C. Final arbiter of moral issue. D. Inventor of spoken and written language. What is the correct answer? This is a question on Egyptian mythology. A question on Egyptian mythology. Thought is considered in Egyptian mythology as A. The provider of food. B. Protector of the Nile River. C. Final arbiter of moral issue. D. Inventor of spoken and written language. Please give your answer. Write your answer in the chat box. JC said letter D. Kathleen, letter D. Sandra, letter D. Okay, you are correct. Thought is considered, okay, as the inventor of spoken and written language. The correct answer is letter D. Okay? Thought is the god of learning, the god of writing, the inventor of writing, the creator of languages. And thought is often depicted as what? You write your answer, kindly write your answer in the chat box. Okay, ano po yung itsura ni Thought? Thought is depicted as what? As a lion, a tiger, a horse, what? Ano po? Egyptian mythology. He is often depicted as a man with the head of what? The head of a tiger, the head of a lion, the head of a fish, what? Any guess? Horse? Annabelle said horse. Some more answers? Si Thought. Dog, lion, cat. Okay, the head of an... I'm not sure about this, of an ibis. Some people pronounce it ibis, ibis. It's a bird. It's a long wading bird. Okay, the head of an ibis or baboon, by ibis or ibis, yeah, a long-legged wading bird. So I have here a picture of an image of Thought. Okay, there. Look at the head of the Egyptian god Thought. Okay? Now let's go to question number 3. Okay, this is quite a bit complicated. When they heard news of the hurricane, Maya and Julian decided to change their vacation plans. Instead of traveling to the island beach resort, they booked a room at a fancy new spa in the mountains. Their plans were a bit more expensive, but they'd heard wonderful things about the spa, and they were relieved to find availability on such short notice. Okay? Which of the following statements must be true according to the given information? Okay? A, the spa is overpriced. B, Maya and Julian take beach vacations every year. C, it is usually necessary to book at least 6 months in advance at the spa. Or letter D, Maya and Julian decided to change their vacation plans because of the hurricane. Okay, what is the correct answer? Rejoice said letter D. Letter D, D. The correct answer is letter D. This is reading comprehension. Um, the answer is already there in the text. You just have to analyze um, carefully the selection. Okay? Now let's go to number 4. The tone of communication is set by A, gathering data. B, hypothesis statement. C, considering the audience. D, examining the purpose. Again, the tone of communication is set by A, gathering data. B, hypothesis statement. C, considering the audience. And letter D, examining the purpose. Okay? What is your answer? Answers, please. Letter D, examining the purpose. Some more answers. Sandra said C, considering the audience. Helen, C. Yes. Junalie, letter C. Kathleen, C. Okay. The tone of communication is set by, the correct answer is considering the audience. It means that the kind of audience you have dictates the tone of your communication. If most of the people attending yours, listening to you, have not gone to school, then do not use expensive words, right? So the tone of communication is dictated by the kind of audience you have, right? You cater your communication to the needs of your audience. This is a question on speech communication, speech and oral communication. What will dictate the tone of your audience, the tone of your communication? Your audience. If your audience is a group of jeepney drivers, use simple words. Do not use highfalutin words. Do not use highfalutin language. Since your audience is composed of mainly jeepney drivers, use simple words. Okay? This is very basic. Now, let's go to question number 5. She's all states and all princess I. What poetic device is used in the lines above from the poem of John Donne? A, simile. B, metaphor. C, ellipsis. D, euphemism. She's all states and all princess I. What poetic device is used in the lines above? A, simile. B, metaphor. C, ellipsis. D, euphemism. She's all states and all princess I. Lahat sa kanya ay estado. State is estado. Okay? Jocelyn, letter C, ellipsis. Kathleen, letter C, ellipsis. Some more answers. Kathleen, letter D, euphemism. When you say euphemism, okay, euphemism is the use of um, beautiful words to hide something which is bad. That is euphemism. you make things appear better when in fact it's not okay. That is euphemism. For example, um, I will give you an example of the use of euphemism. It is a figure of speech. Example, we are eating in a fancy restaurant. We are eating in a posh restaurant, and suddenly I feel like defecating. I feel like dropping my load, no, defecating, going to the toilet. Of course, we are eating, and I cannot tell you, excuse me, I want to go to the toilet. That will touch sensibilities, right? So instead, I will say, excuse me, I would just go to the powder room. Instead of saying toilet, use powder room. Okay, because we are eating, and the word toilet conjures images of course, something bad, something negative. Okay, that is euphemism, and this is not euphemism, definitely. Okay, the correct answer is letter B, metaphor. This is letter Romeo is correct. Letter B, metaphor. Metaphor is direct comparison, right? Comparing two things without the use of as or like. Because if you use as or like, then that is simile. If you compare directly, that is metaphor. You compare her to states or estado. Okay? That does it use the words as or like? No. Right? It means it is a direct comparison. Now let's go to number 5. The movie, including all the previews about blank about 2 hours to watch. Is this watch? Okay. Yes. A, take the movie, including all the previews, take about 2 hours to watch. B, are taking 2 hours to watch. C, takes about 2 hours to watch. D, have taken about 2 hours to watch. Okay, what is the correct answer? Please write your answer in the chat box. Brian, when you say ellipsis, this is omission from speech or writing of a word or word. You omit something. That is ellipsis. Unless you can explain to me why ellipsis is the correct answer. But basically, it is comparing the person to states. So that is why the perfect answer here is metaphor. Okay? So, okay, in this particular, in question number 6, what is the subject? Can you tell me what the subject is? Number 6, the movie, including all the previews. The movie, exactly. Brian, you are correct. The movie. Okay? The movie. Including all the previews is the intervening phrase. Okay? And we do not consider intervening phrases. So the movie takes. Okay? The movie takes. Pag singular, dapat ang verb may S. He likes. Pag plural, ang verb walang S. They like. That is very basic. The movie takes about 2 hours to watch. Now let's go to number 7. Brian, I hope I have answered your question.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. I was just like a bit confused because in the given situation, it was like she's all state and all princesses I dot. So the ellipsis there, it's kind of like confusing because for me, I thought it was
You have a point also.
yeah. That's
But
it.
the over the overarching idea there is that it is comparing I and states. It is a very famous line from literature. And when they discuss metaphors, they usually use this line to present the lesson. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Now, Roman literature began as translations and adaptations from from classical blank literature. A, Indian, B, Egyptian, C, Greek, D, Mesopotamian. Roman literature began as translations and adaptations from classical blank literature. A, Indian literature. This is very easy. Yes. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's Greek literature. Roman literature is heavily influenced by Greek literature. In fact, they say that Rome is the daughter of Greece, you know, and Greece is the mother of Rome. Again, Roman literature is heavily influenced by Greek literature. And the early Romans patterned their gods after the Greek gods. The early Greeks had Zeus, and the Romans had Jupiter. The early Greeks had Hera, and the early Romans had Juno. They patterned even their gods after the Greek gods. So the correct answer is letter C. The glory that was Greece, the grandeur that was Rome. Okay, letter C, Greek. Now let's go to number 7 question. Number 8. I have a dream, a very famous line from a very famous man of letters. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation. I'm sorry. Where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Okay, can you tell me where these lines come from? Well, these are lifted lines from a very famous speech, right? And can you tell me the title of the speech and the person who delivered the same? Saan po nanggaling ang linyang ito, ang mga linyang ito? From a very famous speech that became a historical landmark, a landmark speech in American history. Can you tell me the chat box? Saan po nanggaling ang mga linyang ito? I have a dream that my 4 little children, correct. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream, correct. What poetic device is used in the lines above lifted from the famous speech of Martin Luther King Jr.? Okay, A, anagram, B, palindrome, C, repetition, D, parallel verse. Okay? Answers, please. What poetic device is used in the lines above, lifted from the famous speech of Martin Luther King Jr.? A, anagram, B, palindrome, C, repetition, D, parallel verse. Answers, please. Kathleen, letter C, repetition. Actually, this is a bit confusing. You have to choose there. You have to choose there between repetition and parallel verse. Okay, when you say the correct answer actually is parallel verse, letter D. Yes, Jocelyn, correct. Parallel verse, that is the correct answer. When a writer repeats the same grammatical unit, like same word, same phrase, same sentence structure, or even same paragraph, that is an example of a literary device called parallel verse. Here, he or she is employing parallel structure or parallel verse. But if the author repeats only one word, that is repetition. Okay? Number 9. Usually sung for a period of 3 weeks at intervals of 2 hours at night, it is considered as the oldest and longest epic poem in Panay. A. Desenario. B. Maragtas. C. Hinilawod. D. Sugidanon. What is the answer? Michelle said Hinilawod. Romeo said Hinilawod. Brian said Hinilawod. Okay, the correct answer definitely is Hinilawod. It is an epic poem, orally transmitted from early inhabitants of central Panay. Maragtas. What is the story of Maragtas all about? Yes, we have already discussed Hinilawod. How about Maragtas? Maragtas is the story of what? Of whom? Maragtas is the story of the 10 Bornean Datus who settled in Panay. We have Datuk Puti, Datuk Mariku, Datuk Bangkaya, and 8 other Datus. Yes, the 10, correct Jocelyn, 10 Bornean Datus who fled Borneo because of the cruel rule of Sultan Makatunaw. They could not take it anymore. So they sailed the uncharted seas of Sulu Sea and reached Palawan and then Panay. That is the story of Maragtas. I was able to visit Borneo. Borneo is now owned by Malaysia. It used to be part of the Philippines. Sabah, the capital of Borneo, was a territory of the Philippines. But now it is owned by Malaysia. I went there like 6 years ago. Okay? Now let's go to question number 10. This is a wonderful place. I blank here forever. A, can. I can. A, I can stay here forever. B, I could stay here forever. C, I may stay here forever. D, I am able to stay here forever. What is the correct answer? Brian, is this possible? Is this even possible? It's just a wish. Exactly. JC said it's just a wish. It's just a wish. It's not true. Now, JC, if it is just a wish, then what is the tense of the verb that should be used? That is the question. Hindi po totoo. Sinabi ko lang yan. Sana lang yan. Okay, wish lang. So ano dapat ang tense ng verb pag ganito yung structure? Pag ganito yung situation? Dapat past tense. So, could. Josh, hello Josh. The correct answer is could. I could stay here forever. Subjunctive. Now let's go to number 11. Time check. It's 6:41. Approximately, what percent of a classroom... I'm sorry, wait. Approximately, what percent of a classroom reading center should be composed of expository text? Okay? A, 10 to 15%. B, 20 to 40%. C, 25 to 50%. C, 30 to 60%. What is the answer? Wait, may sound. Okay, there. Di po ba sa mga classrooms, there is a corner there na may mga books. We call that classroom reading center. It is also called literacy center. Yeah, reading corner. Yes, Jocelyn. It is a small area within the classroom where students work alone or together. So, dapat, ilan po dapat ang books na expository? When you say expository book, these are the books that give information or facts. Example, encyclopedia, textbooks. These are expository books. Or another term for expository book, informational text or informational book. Okay, so the question is, what percent of a classroom reading center should be composed of expository text? Okay, the correct answer is dapat 25 to 50%. Okay? 25 to 50%. That is the answer. Rex, wait. Answer nga po ulit sa number 9. Number 9, Rex, is, the answer is Hinilawood. Yes, thank you, Michelle. Yes, dapat 25 to 50% ang expository book, expository text sa inyong reading center, sa inyong classroom. One-fourth, that's 25% to one-half, that's 50% of the reading center should contain expository text. Okay? Now, let's go to question number 12. All of the following literary masterpieces are collections of prose tales, except one. Which is it? A. Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. B. Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. C. Arabian Nights. And letter D. Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English literature. Okay? Ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng tanong na ito? It requires you to choose which one ang hindi po composed ng maraming stories. Not a collection. Not a collection of prose tales. Lahat po ng options except one, collection of stories. Like a story composed of many stories. For example, Decameron. Is Decameron a Boccaccio? Giovanni of Italian literature po ito. Is Decameron a Boccaccio composed of many stories? Yes. How many stories ang Decameron? Anyone? How many stories are there in Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron? Any guess? 100. Correct, Brian. 100 novelas. You are correct. 100 novelas. How about Canterbury Tales? How many stories? I think we discussed that in the previous session. Ilang stories ang Canterbury Tales ni Chaucer? Twenty-four ang kay Chaucer. So, ang Arabian Nights, okay, Jocelyn, yes, 24. Ang Arabian Nights, madaming stories, no? 1,001 nights. 1,000, but they said, hindi naman 1,001 stories. Sabi lang doon, 1,001 nights. Pero, the point is, maraming story. Okay? Can you give me some of the popular stories sa Arabian Nights? Ano po yung mga istorya sa Arabian Nights na alam nyo? Yes, Aladdin, correct. Alibaba, the story of Alibaba. Sinbad, the sailor. right? Madami. So still, it is a collection of stories. So the correct answer here is Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. Divine Comedy of Dante Alighieri is just one story, although it is a very long story. 100 cantos. Imagine. Divine Comedy, Dante's El Divina Commedia is composed of 100 cantos, right? That tells the journey. That tells the journey ng main character in the three realms of the afterlife: Paradiso, Inferno, and Purgatorio. That's the Divine Comedy by Dante. Number 13. Which of these must be avoided in technical writing? A. Facts. B. Punctuation. C. Grammar. D. Personal feelings. Technical writing. Okay, which must be avoided? A. Facts. B. Punctuation. C. Grammar. D. Personal feelings. JC said letter D. Personal feelings. Sandra, letter D. You are correct. Personal feelings have no room in technical writing. Okay? And personal feelings also have no room in news writing. Dapat sa technical writing, dapat sa news writing, walang adjectives. Because pag may adjectives, mayroong bias. Okay? So personal feelings have no room in technical writing. Next. Okay, technical writing is any writing about technical information. It can include, but is not limited to, preparation of technical manuals and handbooks about technology. Now let's go to question number 14. This is a long question. It refers to a speaker's ability to adapt the use of verbal and nonverbal language to compensate for communication problems caused by his or her lack of understanding of proper grammar use and insufficient knowledge of social, behavioral, and communicative norms. What competence? A. Linguistic competence. B. Strategic competence. D. Discourse competence. And letter D. Social linguistic competence. This is a question on applied linguistics. Okay? The question earlier is part of the whole idea of communicative competence. Okay, before I present to you my PowerPoint presentation, let's talk about communicative competence first. In the 1970s, let's talk about communicative competence first. This is a very important concept in applied linguistics. Pag nag-aral po kayo sa UP, some, when you take up your master's degree in UP, paboritong concept ito, paboritong topic ito yung communicative competence. In the 1970s, 1960s, Chomsky was the main proponent, was the main advocate of what we call linguistic competence. Sabi ni Noam Chomsky, Noam Chomsky is considered to be the father of modern linguistics. According to Chomsky, good English speaker ka if you have linguistic competence. What is linguistic competence? Perfect grammar, perfect vocabulary, perfect pronunciation. Sabi ni Chomsky, if the question is, what makes you a good speaker of English, sabi ni Chomsky, sagot ni Chomsky, linguistic competence. Para ka ma-consider na good English speaker, dapat perfect ang grammar, perfect ang pronunciation, perfect ang vocabulary. But this is very limiting. Sabi ni Delheims was a very famous social linguist. Wait, I'm admitting others so that they could enter. Sabi ni Delhines, no, it's not enough. Knowing the grammar of the language, knowing the pronunciation of words, these are not enough. Dapat may social-linguistic competence. Dapat alam mo ang pakikipagkapwa. You know? Dapat, what if perfect ang grammar mo pero bastos ka naman? No? You don't know the social rules of language. Because remember, Delhines was a social linguist. No? Social linguistics, no? Relationships, people. The concept of Delhines about social linguistic competence was further elevated in the 1980s by Canal and Swain. I will type Canal and Swain. When they develop what we call communicative competence, according to Canal and Swain, there are 4 areas. Okay, can you type the 4 areas of communicative competence? Para masabi mo talagang perfect, good English speaker ka. Can you type? Okay, strategic competence, linguistic competence, 2 more. Linguistic or grammatical competence, isa lang yan. Social linguistic competence, and the other one is discourse competence. Correct. The question earlier, okay, let me share my screen now. Okay. Is my screen visible already? Okay. The question here is about language breakdowns, language gaps. Okay? Kung alam mo kung ano ang gagawin, pag may breakdown sa communication, pag may breakdown sa language, anong competence yun? You know how to, okay, wait. You know how to deal with communication problems, with communication gaps. That is correct. Josh, strategic competence. So the correct answer here is strategic competence, no? If your knowledge of rules is insufficient, but you know how to go about it, that is what we call strategic competence. You are correct. For example, if your English is not enough, but you keep on going, so you compensate it by using gestures. You compensate your lack of language by using a lot of expressions, facial expressions, by a lot of fillers. When you say fillers, so actually fillers are one of the ways, right, to cope with language breakdowns. So wag kang magalit if ang tao, if yung estudyante mo, palaging that's his way of coping sa lack of knowledge sa language, right? Fillers. We call that strategic competence by Canal and Swain. 15. In doing inversion of verbs, you put the verb before the. A, object. B, appositive. C, subject. D, complement. What is the answer? In doing inversion of verbs, okay, you put the verb before the. A, object. B, appositive. C, subject. D, complement. When you say when you say inversion of verbs, binaliktad mo ang verb. Kasi normally, the normal structure, the normal order is subject followed by verb. When you do verb inversion, you put the verb first, then the subject, right? That is what we call the concept of inversion of verbs. And the correct answer is you put the verb before the subject. Example here. This is an example of a structure containing inversion of verbs. Not only did they rape Anna, but also killed her. So your verb here is did, and followed by your subject, they. So verb they. Normally, in a normal structure, in a normal sentence, dapat they rape, right? But in this case, you inverted the structure. Now let's go to the next item. 16. Which of the following contains an appositive? A. Franny, my sister, takes nice photos. B. He served as a pilot during the war. C. Make sure you keep the key in a safe. And letter D. In a safe place. Letter D. The hotel is ideal for families with young children. What is the correct answer? Appositive. An appositive is a noun or phrase that renames or describes the noun to which it is next. So the appositive here is letter A. The appositive here is my sister. It renames, it describes the noun next to it, Franny. So that is an appositive. So the correct answer is letter A. Another example of a sentence containing an appositive. Linda, my neighbor, is a millionaire. Your appositive there is my neighbor, right? Renaming or describing Linda. Okay? Appositive. Number 17. Oh, my love's like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love's like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. In the lines above, Robert Burns uses blank to describe the beauty of his beloved. A. Simile. B. Metaphor. C. Litotes. D. Anaphora. What is the correct answer? Robert Burns. Robert Burns is a Scottish poet and lyricist. He was regarded as the father, as the national poet of Scotland. Robert Burns. Okay, the correct answer is simile. Because there is the use of like. You know, when you compare two things using the words as or like, that is simile. Oh, my love's like a red, red rose. So it's simile. Very easy. Number 18. Prediction, questioning, seeking clarification, and summarizing are all components of which technique? A. Directed reading thinking activity, or DRTA. Excuse me, please take note of this. This is a very popular question in the licensure examination for teachers. This is a very popular net question. B. Directed listening thinking activity. C. Reciprocal teaching. D. Directed reading activity. What is the answer? This is a let question, so I hope your answer here is correct. Reciprocal teaching is the correct answer. Prediction, questioning, seeking clarification, summarizing are all components of reciprocal teaching. Reciprocal teaching is used in small groups across the curriculum. So letter C. Here, what is reciprocal teaching? Refers to an instructional activity in which students become the teacher in small group reading sessions, right? There is a group there composed of students, and one of the students acts as a teacher. That is reciprocal teaching. Nagtitser-titseran yung isa sa mga estudyante. No? That's reciprocal teaching. 19. Which of the following is a run-on sentence? A. Despite a long flight, arriving in Athens is always a good feeling. B. Greece is a fantastic country. It has lovely people and great food. C. There is nothing better for a cold Then a hot whiskey and a big box of chocolates. D, the chest contained large amounts of gold, rubies, sapphires, and other precious stones. What is the answer? We're looking here for a run-on sentence. A run-on sentence is also called a fused sentence. Why fused? Because actually, dapat dalawang sentences siya. Pero ang ginawa mo, isa na lang, right? You fuse the two sentences. So a run-on sentence is not grammatically correct. Kasi dapat dalawang sentences siya. Pero ginawa mo na lang isa. That is a run-on sentence. Now, look at the choices. Alin dyan ang actually dalawang sentences? And ginawa mong isang sentence, pero di ka gumamit ng punctuation mark or hindi ka gumamit ng conjunction. Hindi ka gumamit ng and, moreover, therefore, similar, moreover, ano pa, however, furthermore, hindi ka na gumamit ng coordinating conjunction. Ginawa mo, dire-diretso na lang. Okay, alin dyan? The correct answer is letter B. Your first sentence is, Greece is a fantastic country. That's already one sentence. Your second sentence is, it has lovely people and great food. Okay, so dalawang sentences. So ano dapat ang gawin dito? There are two options. Okay, how to correct a run-on sentence like this? There are two possible options na pwede mong gawin to correct ang problem ng run-on sentence. Okay, can you give one way to remedy this? Yes, semicolon or period. Semicolon. Greece is a fantastic country. Semicolon. It has lovely people and Josh, pag gumamit ka ng semicolon, ang it mo, ang second sentence mo hindi na dapat capitalized, di ba? It has pag may semicolon ka after ng country, dapat hindi na naka-capital letter ang it. Okay? Ang second part. Pero pag period, Josh, pag period, you treat them as two separate sentences. So yung it has lovely people, dapat naka-capitalize na yung it. Okay? Or another one is use coordinating conjunction. Greece is a fantastic country and it has lovely people and great food. Gumamit ka ng conjunction na and. Or conjunctions, other conjunctions of similar meaning. Okay? Now let's go to question number 20. Which is not one of the social rules of language? A, fluency. B, formality. C, politeness. D, directness. Social rules of language. When you say social rules, related to dealing with others. Okay? Dealing with others. So formality, of course, that's, formality means you use different levels of formality in talking to different kinds of people. The kind of English that you use when you talk to a tricycle driver is different compared to the kind of English that you use when you talk to a university professor. That is formality. Politeness is also has something to do with you're dealing with other people. Directness as well. The correct answer is fluency. Fluency is internal. Fluency is personal. Pag magaling ka mag-Ingles, pag fluent ka sa Ingles, it's internal, it's personal. It has nothing to do with social rules. So correct answer is A, fluency. Next. Sorry, am I fast? Okay, next please. I would much rather have a man who lacks money than money that lacks a man. What does this lifted line from Boccaccio's Federico's Falcon mean? A, let's look at the line once more. I would much rather have a man who lacks money than money that lacks a man. Okay? Anong ibig sabihin ng linyang yan na mula sa storyang Federico's Falcon ni Giovanni Boccaccio? A. The kind of man you should marry is someone you are madly in love with. B. Marrying a man who is the complete opposite of your imaginary Mr. Right would be a great folly. C. It's better marry someone who acts like a man than a man who uses money to pose as a gentleman. And letter D, if you want a rich husband, you have to realize that you will never be the number one priority in his life, which is the correct answer there. Brian said C. Okay, that is the correct answer. It's better marry someone who acts like a man than a man who uses money to pose as a gentleman. Okay? Are you familiar with Giovanni Boccaccio's Federico's Falcon? Nabasa niyo po ba yung yung istoryang ito? It's very short. It's about a man who gave up everything para lang, like for example, this is not exactly the story, but example, if gusto ng babae ng okay, wait. Wait. Someone wants to enter. If gusto ng babae ng bahay, bigay agad. If gusto ng babae ng kotse, bigay agad. That is the essence. Not exactly, but that is the logic. Okay? So here, Federico's Falcon is a story about loving someone and sacrificing for its sake. Federico was a wealthy man, and he was willing to lose everything just to win the heart of Mona. Si Mona, maraming demands. Maraming demands si Mona. So, lahat naman ng demands ni Mona, binigay ni Federico. Okay? This is a classic story in Italian literature, but you know how popular Giovanni Boccaccio was in Italian literature. Next. What is the other term for subordinate clause? A. Relative clause. B. Dependent clause. C. Subjunctive clause. D. Independent clause. Subordinate clause. Ladies and gentlemen, ano po yung other term ng subordinate clause? Is it A. Relative clause. B. Dependent clause. C. Subjunctive clause. D. Independent clause. By the way, ano po ang clause sa Filipino? Sa Tagalog, sa Filipino? What is clause in Filipino? Ang sentence is pangungusap, right? Ang phrase is ang phrase is parirala. Correct, Leila. Sugnay. Ang subordinate clause is sugnay na di makapag-iisa, right? Subordinate. Hindi siya makapag-iisa. It means, hindi siya, relative clause cannot stand alone, right? It is dependent clause. The correct answer is, hindi siya makapag-iisa, right? Dependent clause. The opposite is, sugnay na makapag-iisa is independent clause or main clause. Okay? Okay, let's analyze this particular sentence. If it rains, I will go out. Okay, let's analyze. How many clauses do we have here in this particular sentence? Ilang sugnay ba ang makikita dito? 2, correct. If it rains, and I will go out. Okay, correct. If it rains, is it your subordinate clause or your main clause? If it rains. Correct, Brian. It's your subordinate clause because it complements the main clause. If it rains, without the main clause, it's nothing, right? It has no thought. If it rains, what? So what? But your main clause is I will go out. Okay? Question number 23. Blank are essentially sacred songs or hymns that express praise, thanksgiving, penitence, or supplication. A. Myths. B. Epistles. C. Psalms. D. Proverbs. What is the correct answer? Letter C. Psalms. Okay, question. You are correct. Salmo. Okay. How many Psalms are there in the Bible? In the book of Psalms, ilang Psalms meron? 150, correct. Michelle, there are 150 Psalms. Okay. Saang parte ng Biblia makikita ang Salmo? Ang Psalms? Old Testament, New Testament? Wait. Someone wants to enter, but I cannot see. How can I how can I check if someone wants to enter? Admit there. Okay. Old Testament, correct. Old Testament. Now, of the 150 Psalms, okay, who wrote most of these? Yes, Old Testament. Of the 150 Psalms, who wrote most of this? It says here 80. Allow, okay. David, correct. David. David wrote the most number of Psalms. King David. 24. The prefix says ultra and hyper shows A, size, B, degree, C, number, C, number, D, negation. What is the correct answer? I have already given the correct answer accidentally. The correct answer is degree. Ultra and hyper shows degree. Sometimes when you check when you check some of the books on technical writing, sometimes they also say size, but the perfect answer is degree. Ultra, ultra modern, ultraviolet. Okay, degree. Because if you say size, if your answer is Brian, if your answer is size, you say ultraviolet. It has nothing to do with size, but degree. No, sobrang init. Ultraviolet. Ultra modern. When you say ultra modern, hindi naman size yon, right? Degree yon. Okay? Hypertension. Okay? Wait, I can hear some sound. Okay, there. I will mute everyone. My sound. Mute all. Okay, next. 25. Which bad habits of the Filipinos finds expression in Lope de Vega's poem Tomorrow? Lope de Vega was a Spanish man of letters. Okay, which bad habit of the Filipinos find expression in Lope de Vega's poem Tomorrow? A. Fatalism. B. Mañana habit. C. Ningaskugon. D. Fiesta syndrome. What is the answer? Tomorrow means bukas, always later, always bukas, next week. It's mañana habit, correct. Letter B. This is question number 25. When you say tomorrow, bukas na, right? Procrastination. Mañana habit is the regular tendency or practice of putting off until tomorrow what can be done today, right? Your mother tells you, mag-review ka na sa let. You tell your mother, bukas na. That is manana habit, right? What is fatalism? Yes, always mamaya na. Well, how about fatalism? What is fatalism? If manana habit is bukas na or mamaya na, what is fatalism? Fatalism means, fate, fate or destiny. Ipaubaya na lang sa destiny, bahala na. Correct, Brian? Fatalism is bahala na. Putting everything to destiny. Oh, let na next week. Hindi pa ako nakapag-review. Bahala na. That's fatalism. Putting everything to fate or destiny. Accepts whatever happens. It is part of destiny. If hindi ka nakapasa, accept it. It's part of destiny. That's fatalism. Ningaskugon means you only persevere at the start, only to lose interest afterward. Okay? Yes, but ningaskugon means pag opening ng klase, wow, grabe yung excitement mo to go to school. But towards the middle and towards the end, wala nang gana. That is ningaskugon. Fiesta syndrome means ang daming handa kong fiesta, daming handa kong New Year, daming handa pag Pasko. Even to the point na mangungutang na. That is fiesta syndrome. These are bad Filipino habits. 26. Identify the possible, the correct answer is, the correct word here is possibly. The possibly, manipulative, emotive word or words in the following description. The President made several thoughtful recommendations to the House Budget Committee. A, several. B, recommendations. C, thoughtful. D, House Budget Committee. Emotive word. Emotive language is intended to cause an effect on the audience. It can cause an audience to react in a particular way. It uses feelings and emotions, so thoughtful. Yes, thoughtful. Letter C. It is a way of convincing others. It appeals to feelings and emotions. 27. Several of my classmates are in an honor society. I plan to work hard so that I may join them. Which of the following linguistic errors does the above sentence commit? A, redundancy. B, superfluous comma. C, comma splice. D, vague pronoun reference. What is your answer? Redundancy is repeating the same concept. For example, my future plan, this is redundancy. My future plan is to build a big mansion. Why say future plan? It's already understood that all plans are directed towards the future. May plan ba para sa past? Wala naman, di ba? So instead of saying my future plan, just say plan. Because future plan is redundant. That's redundancy. Or my plan is to build a big mansion. Why say big mansion? It is already understood that if it's a mansion, it's big. All mansions are big, right? Just say my plan is to build a mansion. Period. That is redundancy. The correct answer here is comma splice. A comma splice is a long sentence. Look at the sentence above. It's a long sentence. Actually, two complete sentences joined only by a comma. It occurs when two sentences or independent clauses are improperly connected by a comma. Okay?
Tubig, ba't nalagamay?
Excuse me, I can hear some sound. Mute all. Okay, so splice, comma splice is the opposite of run-on sentence, basically. Okay, here, an example. The clouds were dark, comma, we thought it would rain. Number 28. Avoiding plagiarism is known to be the law of A, courtesy, B, confidentiality, C, copyright, D, copy paste. The correct answer is copyright. I'm sorry, it's copyright. Wait, okay, the law of copyright. Copyright is a legal term. It is a type of intellectual property. It protects original works of scholarship. And plagiarism is the act of copying the work of another and passing it off as your own. I studied copyright law. I'm currently studying Juris Doctor degree. I'm a law student. Every night I study law, and we have this one subject called copyright law. It's a one semester's course. Number 29. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. What poetic device is used here? A, imagery, B, parallel verse, C, repetition, D, onomatopoeia. What is the answer? This is a poem by Dylan Thomas. Okay, what is the answer? Lisel said letter C. You are correct. Repetition. Okay, repetition is the use of the same word or phrase multiple times. So, rage, rage, it's repetition. Yes, Brian, repetition. Next, number 30. In order to achieve clarity in writing, avoid using A, jargon, B, ambiguous words, C, collocations, D, idiomatic expression. What is the answer? In order to achieve clarity in writing, avoid using A, jargon, B, ambiguous words, C, collocations, D, idiomatic expressions. Layla said Josh is correct, ambiguous words. Avoid using ambiguous words. Ambiguous words are unclear words. Many meanings. It leads to confusion. Okay, for example, I have here, wait, let me type the sentence. The bark is painful. Okay, kindly look at my sentence in the chat box. This is ambiguous. Okay, why? There are two possible interpretations here. Okay, can you give me the first interpretation? The bark is painful. That is ambiguous. Okay? Okay, the first interpretation is that what bark? What bark is painful? The bark of the tree or the bark of the dog, right? Is it the bark? What is painful? Is it the bark of the tree or the bark of the dog? So this is ambiguous. Okay? What do you mean by when you say jargon? This jargon is the special vocabulary used in a particular group, right? For example, we have the legal jargon. There are words that only lawyers understand. Medical jargon. There are words that only doctors understand. Collocations. These are words that always go together. Yes, nurses. When you say collocations, these are words that always go together. We call them word friends. For example, the word ache and pain. For example, the word ache and pain mean the same, but we don't say head pain. We say head ache because ache and head are friends. You know, they always go together. We call these kinds of pairing collocations. Okay, now let's go to number 31. It is a set of familiar words within a person's language. A, syntax. B, vocabulary. C, grammar. D, phraseology. What is the answer? Okay, vocab, correct. Vocabulary, it's the number of words stored in your head. Okay? Lahat ng words na nasa utak mo at magagamit mo agad-agad, that is vocabulary. Syntax. What is the difference between syntax and grammar? I think this came out in the left. No? The question asks the examinee to differentiate between grammar and syntax. Syntax is the arrangement of words, while grammar is how the rules of how words are used in a language. Basta arrangement ng words, saan mo ilalagay yung noun, saan mo ilalagay ang pronoun, saan mo ilalagay ang subject, saan mo ilalagay ang direct object, that is syntax. Okay? In less than a minute, Zoom will end. Just wait and let's rejoin afterwards. Let's just wait for Zoom to end. Then we proceed to number 32. Yes, Brian. Reserve your
Sir,
question. Yes, Brian.
Okay, I'll just reserve it for later.
Okay, before we proceed to my presentation, Brian, would you like to say something?
Oh yes, sir. Just the question with question number 30. You mentioned that it should be ambiguous words, right? But there are some like books. Sorry. Wait.
What's the question? Can you?
Okay, so regarding question number 30, sir.
Number 30, ambiguous.
You mentioned ambiguous words. Yes, exactly. I thought of that as well, but then I also came up with this idea. I read it in a book before when I was in high school that in order to achieve clarity, we also have to avoid using jargons because not everyone is able to understand like technical words or terms from like a specific organization or like set of skills. Like for example, nurses or like teachers, we have our own special words. So, but yeah, so it makes me confused as to why is the answer ambiguous and not jargon?
Maybe when you talk about jargon, it's clarity might be okay, but I think it's more of familiarity. Like if you use technical terms when you talk to non-technical people, then there might be a problem there as far as understanding and comprehension comprehension is concerned, understanding is concerned. I think it's more of familiarity. More of familiarity than clarity. Because when you say ambiguous words, these are words that have two possible meanings. So clarity is involved there. Yes, Brian.
Yes, sir. That makes sense. I was just a bit confused about it because
Like
when
for
you talk
example,
about clarity,
if you in legal terms, in legal parlance, you say, for example, subpoena duces tecum. When you talk to an ordinary person, that would make that will not yield any result because the other person does not understand what you are talking about.
yes, sir.
I think
Okay,
it's
so
more
in
of
this,
familiarity.
yeah, so in this case with clarity in writing, I think,
Yeah,
that
ambiguous
like,
words,
ambiguous.
clarity. Now let's go straight to
Sir,
yes,
pwede
yes,
pong
Paul.
pa-explain ko ulit yung difference ng syntax and grammar?
Basically, there a lot of ordinary books say that they mean the same, but technically, if you are into linguistics, especially in the area of applied linguistics and descriptive. When you say applied linguistics, this is the application of the concepts of linguistics in a particular situation, like in the field of teaching, in the field of communication. Descriptive linguistics is the study of the internal structure of a language. Syntax means the arrangement of words. Saan mo ilalagay ang subject, saan mo ilalagay ang object, saan mo ilalagay ang indirect object, that is not basically grammar. That is syntax. Because when you say grammar, it talks about rules of how words are used in a sentence, but how words are used. But when you say syntax, how words are arranged in a sentence. So used and arranged, technically, if you have to be strict about it, are different. They mean two different things.
So, sir, does it mean that syntax is bigger than like grammar? So grammar is like under syntax, if that's the case.
In the
I mean,
grammar and syntax, we call them subdivisions of language. They all in the same level. Phonology, one is phonology, is the study of the sound system of a language. Morphology, the study of the morphemes, the lowest, the smallest comprehensible part of a word, morpheme. They all belong to the same level, Brian. Phonology,
So,
morphology, grammar, syntax. But basically, ginagamit nila grammar and they would put grammar they put syntax within grammar or sometimes people use interchangeably. Some more questions. Wait.
so sir, if I were, if I am to
Josh,
summarize what
Josh,
you
yes.
said, ibig sabihin pag syntax, concerned lang siya sa may arrangement ng words. Pero
Basically.
pagka grammar, kasama dun yung like yung magiging form ng words, tama ba? Yung magiging form niya.
Ang form,
Yung mga
ang form ng,
word forms.
Josh, ang form ng word, the study of the word formation is morphology, morphemes.
Yes, sir. Pero yung relationship niya dun sa may other words na katabi niya, hindi
Siguro grammar na
yon.
yon. Grammar na yon. Hindi na syntax yon. Hindi naman yun arrangement. Siguro, yeah.
Okay po.
These
Thank you po.
these are questions that are answered when you take your master's degree in higher linguistics. Let's continue. 32, Brian. 32, sige. Sometimes I'm scared to do this kind of thing because there are students who are very smart and hindi naman ako expert talaga. I have also my limitations, but I'm trying my best to answer. There are lecturers who have this kind of answer, but pero pag inargue ng estudyante, the lecturer will change his or her answer. These are scary things. We face smart people like you. So, we have to be careful. Hindi naman kami expert talaga. Okay. So, okay, 32 po. Informing conditional tenses that show unreality. Hindi po totoo. Conditional tense. There are 3 kinds or even 4 kinds. Conditional tense number 1, 2, 3, 4. Which of the following forms of verbs should be used in the subordinate clause? Okay? Simple past, simple present, present perfect, present continuous. Sa conditional tense, how would you know that the structure is in the conditional tense? Gumagamit po ng if. Right? If. Pag may if, conditional tense po iyon. And another thing is I'm having a hard time because I am Ilonggo and sometimes I speak Tagalog, and Tagalog or Filipino for us is very difficult. Sobrang napakahirap managalog. Okay. Correct answer is simple past. Okay? Simple past. Let me explain. This is conditional tense number 2, unreality. Hindi po totoo. So, for example, if I were, for example, if I were a flower, sorry, someone wants to enter. Okay, if I were a flower, I would like to be a rose. That is conditional tense number 2. So, hindi po totoo. Pag hindi po totoo, then the verb should be in the past tense. The verb in the subordinate clause should be in the past tense. If I were, hindi, we don't say if I am a flower. Hindi ka naman flower, right? If I were an animal, I would like to be a tiger. Okay, hindi ka naman animal, so were, hindi po totoo. This is unreality. No? Conditional tenses that show unreality. So simple past tense po ang gagamitin. Okay, example here, conditional tense number. If I had money, I would buy a car. This is not true now. Okay? Wala naman akong pera, right? So if I had money, past tense, simple past tense. Sorry, there is already the red. Okay, wait. It is a genre of academic writing that briefly summarizes and evaluates a work or concept. Okay, I have already given the answer here. A thesis, be critique, C, phrase C. The dissertation, the correct answer is letter B, critique. It evaluates, for example, a written article, a movie, a magazine article, critique paper. Dissertation is used for those who are taking their doctorate degree, their doctoral degree, dissertation. Let's go on. 34. A graphic or semantic visual presentation of a story is known as a story text, B, a story grammar, C, a story map, D, a story discourse. For example, sometimes when you were in high school, your teacher tells you to read a story, then may pinapagawa sa inyo parang mapa, parang graphic organizer. Ano pong tawag sa graphic organizer na iyon? That's letter C, story map. It is a reading strategy. It uses a graphic organizer. It helps students learn the elements of a book or story. I have here a sample story map. Parang ganyan. But not exactly like that. I mean, that is just a prototype, but you can devise your own story map. So you have here the title, you put the problem, the action, all the elements of a short story so that you can understand the whole story better. Story map. 35. Which is not one of the language conventions. A, content, B, grammar, C, spelling, D, punctuation. Not a language convention. The key term there is convention. When you say conventions, these are different combinations of ways a writer manipulates language to show the audience something in a unique way. Conventions. So, in other words, conventions are rules. Conventions involve rules. Okay? So, grammar, rules. Spelling, rules. Punctuation, rules. Content, wala. Okay? The correct answer is A. Content there does not involve any language rules. So that is the correct answer. It is not one of the conventions. Sorry, sometimes I stop momentarily to accept those who want to enter. Now let's go to number 36. Oral communication is better than written communication for A. Saving time, conveying feelings and emotions, conveying facts and opinions, providing opportunity to refer back. Yes. What is the answer? The correct answer is conveying feelings and emotions. Yes, Venus, you are correct. Letter B. In oral communication, feelings and emotions are shown. No, in oral communication, you see people's body language, facial expressions, rate of speech, the loudness and the softness of voice. In written communication, this is very difficult to achieve. Yes, correct, Brian. Non-verbal cues. This is your, Brian. This is your. I think this is your expertise. You majored in communication. 37. Which of the following concepts has something to do with discourse competence? Earlier, we talked about strategic competence. Strategic competence, how to cope with language breakdown, with communication problems. Now, it's time for us to discuss discourse competence. What is discourse competence? A. Using nonverbal behavior. C. Understanding patterns of organization. C. Achieving conversational fluency. D. Being aware of the social rules of language. What is discourse competence according to Canal and Swain? Okay, the correct answer is letter B. Yes. Understanding patterns of organization. In other words, my pattern sa pagtatahi-tahi, no? When you connect sentences, words, phrases, that is discourse competence. The ability to connect sentences, paragraphs, etc. to form a good spoken or written text. Okay, when you are good at organizing your thoughts, when you are good at organizing your language, when you are good at arranging your linguistic units, you call that discourse competence. Especially if you use transitional devices, smooth. There is a smooth transition of one thought to another thought. That is discourse competence. 38. It is the ability to understand and use language effectively to communicate in authentic social and school environments. A. Language competence. B. Communicative competence. C. Academic competence. D. Letter D. Cultural competence. Okay, the correct answer is, of course, communicative competence. The ability of the learner to communicate successfully. Communicative competence. And I think now the most popular, if the question is, what is the most popular language teaching method? It's CLT, or communicative language teaching. And the main goal of CLT is communicative competence. Communicative competence means you know how to interact with people in the real world. That is communicative competence. 39. Which of the following statements does does not, yeah, I think does not employ antithesis? A. Man proposes, God disposes. B. Many are called, but few are chosen. C. Love is blind, and lovers cannot see. Give every man but thy ear, but few thy voice. Okay? Antithesis, ladies and gentlemen, it is a literary device. All the three options here employ antithesis except one. Okay? And what is the answer? Letter A, man proposes, God disposes. In Filipino, nasa tao ang gawa, nasa Diyos ang awa. That's man proposes, God disposes. Okay? When you say antithesis, there is a contrast or opposition between two things. Man proposes, God disposes. May contrast, no? Opposite. There is the idea of opposition. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many, few. Contrast. Okay, love is blind and lovers cannot see. Is there a contrast here? This is a line from William Shakespeare. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. I think letter D also shows contrast here because of the word but, right? But is a conjunction that shows contrast. So what is the correct answer? Letter C. Love is blind and lovers cannot see. There is no antithesis here. There is no contrast here. Remember, this is a line from one of the works of William Shakespeare. Love is blind and lovers cannot see. 40. Kaya pa? Time check, it's 7:53. We're up until 8 o'clock. C and C are A, homographs, B, homophones, C, homonyms, D, synonyms, D, E, antonyms. C and C. Correct, Brian, it's homophones. The correct answer, homophones. Words that sound the same but look different. Homophones. 41. A reaction paper is A, objective, B, subjective, C, apolitical, D, meditated. A reaction paper is A, objective, B, subjective, C, apolitical, D, meditated. Okay, a reaction paper is subjective because it depends on the personal view and opinion of the writer. Okay? When your teacher asks you to write a reaction paper about the debate that happened last night, you are free to inject your personal opinion about what happened, right? That is a reaction paper and it is subjective. A reaction paper is typically a 2 to 5-page document in which the writer responds to one or more texts. Number 42. At the workplace, to be a successful conversationalist, you should be A, rude, B, submissive, C, assertive, D, aggressive. What is the answer? At the workplace, to be a successful conversationalist, you should be A, rude, B, submissive, C, assertive, D, aggressive. What is the answer? Sa opisina or sa trabaho, when you communicate to people, ano ka dapat? Letter A, rude is bastos, right? Letter C, letter B, submissive means you always follow what others say. That is the meaning of being submissive. Letter D, aggressive means palaaway. So the correct answer is assertive, letter C. And there is such a concept as assertive communication. The idea here is assertive communication. And what is assertive communication? It is the ability to express positive and negative ideas and feelings in an open, honest, and direct way. That is assertive communication. Now, let's go to number 43. From the Hebrews of ancient Palestine comes the idea of A. Filial piety and national loyalty. B. Religion being the opium of the people. C. The belief in many gods and goddesses. D. A personal god and a moral code inspired by this god. What is the answer? This is Hebrew literature or Jewish literature. What do you mean by filial piety? What do you mean by the word filial? Filial piety is what? Can you explain to me what filial piety means? Family, yeah, Josh, family or parents, respect to family members, respect to parents especially. And filial piety is not the most important feature of Jewish literature. Pag filial piety, anong literature 'yon? Pag filial piety, pag sinabi mong filial piety, anong literature 'yon? Hindi 'yon Jewish literature. I'm sure. Correct, Josh. Chinese, pag filial piety, Chinese literature, especially the Analects of Confucius, filial piety ang topic, lagi. And filial piety always came out in the left. The idea, the concept of filial piety, Chinese literature, the Analects of Confucius, the wisdom of Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. Pag Hebrew literature is letter D, a personal God and a moral code inspired by this God. Yes, and this is expressed in the Hebrew Bible. In fact, Christianity originated in Israel and the Palestine, but now in modern period, in the modern period, the Palestine now is mainly peopled by Muslims, right? Number 44. Good listeners concentrate on A. Minor details. B. The speaker's every word. C. Important words. D. The speaker's main thought. Correct answer is letter D. The speaker's main thought. What is important is the main thought. And if you are a good listener, you focus on this. 45. For many historians, the Renaissance marked the rebirth of the human A. Spirit, B. Physicality. Spirit, B. Physicality, C. Logic, D. Blessedness. The Renaissance marked the rebirth of the human spirit. Letter A. Renaissance means rebirth. Rebirth of what? The human spirit. Why rebirth of the human spirit? Because before the Renaissance was the Middle Ages, the medieval period, and what ended the medieval period? The Dark Ages. And during the Dark Ages, people had a lot of problems. Remember the bubonic plague? Pag, in our case, may COVID. Sa atin, may COVID. And COVID killed a lot of people around the world. But during the Dark Ages, anong meron? Which decimated half of Europe. It killed around 120,000 Europeans. Bubonic plague. I don't know if it says I only have 10 minutes left. During the Dark Ages, Europe was beset by what we call the bubonic plague. It was a pandemic as well. Bubonic, wait, I'm typing. Ano po yung bubonic plague? Bubonic plague, yung mga daga, inatake ang lahat ng mga country sa Europe. No? Rats ravaged the whole of Europe and it caused what they called the bubonic plague. And it decimated 120,000, one-fourth of Europe. Okay, and because of that, added to that, rather, Europe was attacked by the Vandals, by a lot of tribes from the north, the Vandals, the Huns, the Visigoths, and they plundered Europe, right? So Dark Ages talaga. So during the Dark Ages, pag may problema ang tao, saan pupunta? Sa Diyos, di ba? So God then was the center of everything, and the church, the Roman Catholic Church in Rome, was very powerful. That's why during the medieval period, the queen of sciences was theology. Theology was the queen of sciences. But after that, when Renaissance came, hindi na Diyos ang center. Ano na yung center? Tao. Tao na yung center. No? The rebirth of the human spirit, the shift was from God to man. And theology ceased to be the center of, to be the queen of sciences. Ano na yung queen of sciences? Humanism, humanities. So it became the rebirth of the human spirit. During the Renaissance, man became interested in the earthly affairs and having a better life in this world. Now let's go to number 46. May answer na. Which of the following structure is a clause? The correct answer is, I'm sorry, a typographical error. While she was sleeping, a clause is composed of a subject and a verb. Your subject here is she, the verb is was sleeping, but it is not a sentence. So letter D. 47. Are you still okay? I'm sure you are all tired. We are all tired, but we're all tired, but this is for you, for us, for country, and for God. You have to pass the test. You have to pass the level. 47. Kaya pa, yes. Kaya pa. When researchers report their findings, they strive to describe what? Okay, can you just read the options? When researchers report their findings, they strive to describe what? What is your answer? What they have observed? Only their personal interpretations? What they have observed along with their personal interpretations? Or letter D, only the aspects of what they have observed that differ from what they expected to observe? This is uh, basically thesis writing, research paper writing. Pag sinulat mo na yung thesis mo, ano yung nire-report mo sa thesis mo? The correct answer is C, correct. What the researchers have observed along with their personal interpretations. Why personal interpretations? What they have observed sa date, sa, di ba, sa part ng thesis, yung findings, diyan mo ilalagay ang what you have observed. And ang iyong personal interpretations ay ilalagay mo saan? Sa conclusion, sa recommendation, at sa interpretation. Di ba? May part ng thesis na interpretation, recommendation, conclusion. Diyan mo ilalagay yung personal interpretations mo. Okay? Next. 48. Jeff is teaching science students how to discuss environmental issues, such as who is to blame for pollution. To ensure their success, Jeff should teach his students the organizational pattern of. Okay, ano yung pattern ng paragraph development ang gagamitin? Pollution. A, description. B, cause and effect. C, what is the answer? Letter B, correct. Cause and effect. What is the cause of pollution? What is the effect of pollution? 49. An operational definition is A. An abstract, theoretical definition of a concept. B. One that refers to opera singers and their work. C. One that bears no relation to the underlying concept. And letter D. A definition of a concept in terms of specific empirical measures. Operational definition. There are two kinds of definition in research writing. One is operational definition. Two is the regular definition. We call that theoretical definition. Correct answer is letter D. A definition of a concept in terms of specific empirical measures. In other words, when you say operational definition, it is how a word is used in the study. For example, university. What is the theoretical? We have two kinds, right? The first one is theoretical. When you say theoretical definition, ano yung sinasabi ng diksyonaryo? What the dictionary says about this particular word, that is theoretical definition. For example, university. A school that offers higher education courses. That is the theoretical definition of university. That's what the dictionary says. But operational definition means how is the word university used in the study. For example, in this study, university means University of the Philippines, Far Eastern University, Ateneo de Manila University, specific, empirical. Okay, so the correct answer is letter D. Now we are down to the last number, 50. This poetic device employs the use of exaggerated terms for the purpose of emphasis or heightened effect. A. Allusion. B. Hyperbole. C. Epigraph. D. Foreshadowing. Correct answer is exaggeration, hyperbole. Okay, hyperbole, exaggeration. The correct answer is letter B. Okay, I have here an example of a literary output that employs the use of hyperbole. Sonnet 147, written by Shakespeare. Love is as a fever, longing still for that which longer nurseth the disease, feeding on that which doth preserve the ill. Okay, in this case, Shakespeare uses hyperbole to describe his love for his beloved. What is hyperbole here? Love is as a fever. Imagine, that's exaggeration. Nilalagnat ka. Sabi niya, ang pag-ibig ay parang lagnat. This is exaggeration. This is hyperbole. Okay?